Joining me now, Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty. Bill Hagerty, there's no horse sense here. There's no common sense here. There's no sense here. He's choosing climate change, radical climate change, over national security. And I don't get it, but you're the former diplomat and the senator. What do you think?
Well, I think Joe Biden lives in an alternate universe, as do all of his radical left friends in the Democrat Party that seem to want to push us over the abyss into, never land that they seem to only live in. We cannot make it without fossil fuels as a nation. They're trying to push us into more dependency on countries like China, who make the solar panels and who make the windmills. What about the lithium that we need if we go to electronic vehicles? And by the way, we don't have the infrastructure to do that, even if we wanted to. Again, this is an alternate reality that Joe Biden lives in. It will not work. But in the meantime, America is suffering greatly. As you mentioned, it takes away our energy independence. That's our national security, Larry. We're becoming more and more dependent every day on other nations that don't have our best interests at heart every day that Joe Biden continues to wage this war on American energy.
Senator Hagerty, let's go into some specifics here. Let's take a look. What is your reading of the federal gasoline tax, 18.4 cents, that they might temporarily suppress that? And then I think it would have to be coupled, and then this has been floating around the White House and elsewhere, with some kind of excess profits tax, which I think the Bidens want anyway to get at the oil companies, but they got to fund the highway fund. So I suppose that might be a coupling of the excess profits tax with a temporary lifting of the federal gas tax. What's your take on this? What are you hearing, sir?
Well, I hear the same thing that I'm sure you do, Larry. This is nothing but a midterm election gimmick. They're trying to buy votes right now with this. And, I think it'll give perhaps some very near-term relief to the people at the pump. But it doesn't fix the inherent problem. The inherent problem is that Biden is doing everything he can to crush supply in the demand-supply equation. That's what's driven prices through the roof. It's not Vladimir Putin. It's not anything else. It's Joe Biden's policies, a deep regulatory state that's attacking the industry, the oil and gas industry, whether it be financial regs, whether it be the EPA regs, you name it. They are depressing supply with a regulatory construct. They're killing any capital inflow that comes into the industry. And, a short-term gimmick like this is just nothing but that. Very short-sighted. It will not fix the inherent problem. If they go to a tax, particularly if they go to an excess tax on a problem that they've created, it's as you said, as Art Laffer always says, you want less of something, tax it more. That's not going to be a fix either.
Do you think that an excess profit tax could actually get through the Senate, even this Senate?
No, I do not think so. And if you get down to the root cause of anything that they might denominate as an excess profit, it's the fact that they are starving any incentive to reinvest capital in the American oil and gas industry. If you're not reinvesting, your depreciation line is going to inherently, by definition, go down. So you may have a short-term increase, but they don't have an outlet to invest their profits right now. That's what we should be doing, is reinvesting in American energy. Biden is creating every disincentive to do that.
Senator Hagerty, do you think they've given up on this gas at the pump rebate idea? I think they were going to put it out with debit cards or some such thing. Is that still alive, or do you think that's now cold?
I've still heard about this rebate idea. Again, it's just another form of stimulus. Again, more inflation. It also doesn't get at the root problem of fixing the supply. So they're looking at every way they can to buy votes ahead of the midterm election. I think that's the only signal we can take from this, Larry.
And the other one is they're apparently, I think I read someplace, they're going to keep milking the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, keep running. That, as you well know, that was always designed for national security problems, or maybe, horrible hurricane that would shut things down in Texas. But it was not designed for political price fixing.
But that's exactly what's happening. Meanwhile, China is building up their Strategic Petroleum Reserve. They're buying below market from Russia and building their Strategic Petroleum Reserve as we deplete ours. So they're strengthening their national security as we weaken our own national security. It's a preposterous situation, again, driven just by domestic politics, not by our national security strategy.
So when Biden repeats his mother's anecdote, I mean, I don't want to disrespect his mother. His brother probably has more common sense than he does. But anyway, he repeats that anecdote. Basically, he's saying we're going to choose this ideology, this radical, Green New Deal ideology, rather than national security. We're not going to protect. We're not going to protect consumers. We're not going to protect business. We're not going to protect motorists. Blah 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 blah. We're not going to protect our own highways and byways. We are just going to do everything we can to take advantage of $100, $120 oil and $5 gasoline and lock in this Green New Deal agenda. I mean, I see this as a conscious choice.
You're spot on, Larry. I think they talked about this on his trip to Asia. We're going to go through this terrible transformation. You didn't use that word, but this transformation that's going to be very painful in the short to medium term. What he leaves out is the fact that we're going to wind up in a much deeper strategic pit than we already are in with his leadership. This transformation isn't working, and it's not going to work because the technology isn't there, the infrastructure is not there. And again, it makes us more dependent on countries like China that do have the capacity to produce the solar panels, to produce the wind turbines, and to produce the lithium that we don't have present here in America. It just makes us long for the day when you're with the national security advisor, when you are our national economic advisor, when our national security was much stronger, when gas prices were less than half of what they are today. When you talk about a gas tax holiday today, I guess every day under President Trump's leadership was a tax holiday, a gas tax holiday, because we enjoyed far lower prices then.
Senator, you know who uses fossil fuels? The U.S. military.
Yeah.
And you know what's not going to change for I don't know how many years, if ever? That. It's not going to change. Our own military uses fossil fuels that these guys are pricing out. By the way, it's going to blow up the budget for all the wrong reasons. And as you say, we lose security against China. China's much smarter than we are in these things.
Well, the answer's right at our doorstep. If we could just stop waging war on the American energy industry. Biden has the tools to do that, but he will not do it. That's the most inflationary component of all of his backwards-looking policies, is the fact that he continues to wage this war on energy. Energy is an input factor for so many things in our economy. That's what's the driving force behind this inflation. As you've mentioned, many times before, this is funding Putin's war machine against Ukraine. It is weakening us from a national security standpoint, and Biden continues and persists at pursuing this blind Green New Deal policy, again, to the great detriment to the American public.
One last one, sir, just in the last minute or so. This Joe Manchin, Chuck Schumer reconciliation deal, it's hard to know exactly what's in it, but we're told by sources that there's $500 billion of renewable tax credits at least. There may be a lot of health care spending, drug price controls, and the worst of it is well over $1 trillion, maybe as much as $1.6 trillion in higher taxes. Do you know anything much about this? I mean, nothing's been submitted. It breaks my heart to see Joe Manchin go in this direction, but that may be my problem. Anyway, I'm just saying, what can you tell us about that, if anything?
I've heard the rumors that you have, Larry, but again, only rumors. I've seen no text, but it's very hard for me to believe that Joe Manchin, who actually held the line before, would look at doing something like this at this point. He was concerned about inflation earlier when he turned down the $3.5 trillion package that probably would have been $5 or $6 trillion. Now we've seen these policies manifest themselves, and we're looking at record levels of inflation right now, and that inflation is accelerating. So I have a hard time believing that Senator Manchin would go to a policy that would, again, raise corporate taxes. It'll be just passed through to the consumers, again, more inflation. And any stimulus spending that they're talking about in terms of this Green New Deal policy, again, inherently inflationary, and particularly if it constrains supply of energy, it's going to drive prices up even further. I can't believe that Joe Manchin would want to do that.
Yeah, neither can I, sir. It'd break my heart. It would just break my heart. Senator Bill Hagerty, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
we
Larry.
appreciate it very, very much.
Great to be with you.